Shabbat Shalom and welcome to Olive Tree Community Spokane. The following recording is from this week's teaching on the Parasha or portion from the Torah. You can find more details on this Parasha and the scriptures being referred to in the pull-down menu below.
I wanted to kind of build a little bit off of last week in that, when I do these Torah readings, my intention is not to give you some well-formed conclusion that I'm trying to sell you on a point of view. There's a million books out there that would do that for you. But to just raise some issues, hopefully provoke some thought, and especially provoke you to go get into the Word and maybe even see if I know what I'm talking about. We watch these testimonies every week, and so many of them remind me that, for commentary on all of these Torah readings, there's a commentary that's been done by some pretty intelligent men over the years, and I believe it's pretty much all men. It's called the Talmud, right? And for all of their contemplating and considering, a Jewish sage would tell you that it is not a right thing to try and describe God, right? Any description of God would be limiting God somehow, and therefore it's sinful. And yet, in the commentaries, we do see that in describing what's going on in all of these Torah readings, there becomes a picture of who God is. And unfortunately, I mean, what we know is that picture does not include Yeshua. So that's a problem. So again, in this week's Torah portion, this is you see the way that all of this is supposed to work, actually. Here we have, in the verses that Marcella just read, we have Jacob being instructed by his father to go to Padan Haram to get a wife. Do not take a wife from the sons of Canaan. And so he blesses them and sends them out. Esau sees that. What does Esau do? Esau is angry at Jacob. Esau decides he's going to rebel against his father. He's going to make him pay for not getting that blessing. And Esau goes and marries the daughter of Ishmael. And, I love that last verse. I concluded with that because it says, and Jacob got up and he went to Padan Aram, as his father told him. If we do what God tells us to do, there are blessings. And if we fail to do what God tells us to do, there are curses. Now, that's important in these days, and I like to kind of focus on current events because we need to know where we're at. And we look around today, and it's we're living in some wild times, right? I've had numerous discussions in the last couple of months over, this whole idea of the reprobate mind, right? People who have turned their back on God. So, number one, they're not convicted by anything in Scripture. And when I was talking with my wife, Barbara, this morning, she said, well, people who aren't believers, they don't know anything about Scripture anyway. They wouldn't be convicted. But we know that God put an inherent sense of right and wrong, and his Torah is written in us, from the time we're knit together in our mother's womb. I mean, it's just there. Hence, when we read in scripture that, there are people who don't know the law, who keep the law, they're more righteous than the people who know the law, but don't keep the law, right? So these people understood what is right and wrong, and they did it, and that's keeping the law. So the idea that, you look around and these people, so many of them today, have made a conscious choice against God. And we see it, we see it everywhere, right? We see it in everything from denying the gender of people, right? I mean, coming against God right in the first couple of chapters of Genesis, when it said he created man and woman, male and female created he them. So to declare that doesn't exist is coming against God full force. The idea that they are not even convicted by their own conscience anymore, and we see that every day. I have never thought I would see a time when people can say one thing today and the opposite thing tomorrow, and say it like they expect you to believe that they're telling you the truth, so clearly not convicted by their conscience. But the main thing for all believers, for us, and I mean, I feel so repetitive, but then when I look at scripture and like this Torah reading, it's the same idea. You do what the Father tells you to do. If you do what the Father tells you to do, he will bless you. If you bless the people that he tells you to bless, he will bless you. I mean, it is so simple. I remember as a kid overcomplicating things all the time. Your parents, they tell you, don't do this. Well, you need to know, and is it for today and tomorrow, or just for today, just for 2 hours? You really haggling. We see even in this Torah portion where even Jacob, even though he went and did what he was told to do, in his manipulations and machinations, right? He winds up spending 20 years before he can get away from Laban. Esau, again, he had his own manipulations. The difference is that Jacob in the end becomes Israel. Esau, I don't know, where's it made today? It's certainly not a kingdom or a state. The people have been, what's the word? Drawn in. They're different people groups, it's amazing. God will bless those who bless Israel. God will bless those who follow his Torah. Barbara and I, we watched this show. It's called Mentor Pilot. It's kind of interesting. The guy's a pilot, and he analyzes plane crashes, right? And they show all these things. They describe what went wrong. And what you see a lot of actually is pilots who have a problem with trusting their instruments, right? So if you're flying in fog, clouds, storm, you can't see. A lot of times, things get swirling out there. You feel like you're upside down when you're right side up. A lot of crashes have happened because people's mind, their emotions, their heart tells them, oh, I have to bank left. And they don't need to bank left, and they crash, right? Our instrument is the Torah. And so in this day and age, when we have all this chaos, all this confusion, I mean, it's like flying through a storm, because you look out there and you have people telling you, you know, what you believe is wrong, what you thought was right isn't right, you know, and pressuring us to change our positions. We cannot do that. We have to keep an eye on our instruments, on that Torah, and declare and proclaim truth to people. That's all. Not beat them senseless with it, but proclaim it. And God will bless us in that. And we don't have to answer for anyone but ourselves. So God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you.